Welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast featuring special guests Krenzy and Jackson once again, bringing their Vikings takes all the way, all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is extreme commitment to the bit. I love it. Another one during a stressful college semester. We always appreciate the effort to get on the pod. So, boys, today we're going to just kind of go over what we're looking forward to most this weekend or kind of what we're watching for. So, I guess we'll start with Krenzy right off the bat. What are you looking for with this Vikings squad this season and specifically in this first game?
Yeah. So I would say the thing I'm most looking forward to is just uh, seeing how the offense kind of plays together. Like obviously they didn't play a lot in the preseason, which is fine. We don't need guys getting hurt, obviously, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
seeing how they actually mesh together week one and kind of going forward, week one will be kind of the set in stone piece for this offense. I don't know. I'm just looking. I think that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Jackson, how about you?
Yeah, first of all, I'm just excited for football to be back. I'm excited to see fans in the stands,
Mm-hmm.
after last year with no fans. But the things I'm going to be watching for in particular are in the trenches, the O line and D line, just because that was a big disaster last year. I want to see if there's some big improvements there. I want
Mm-hmm.
to see how Tomlinson and Pierce look, and I also want to see how some of the young guys that we drafted look on the O line. I hope there's improvements, but that's something I'm excited to look for.
How about you, Liberta?
Yeah, I like what both of these guys had to say. Obviously, with the offense, I kind of want to see how it comes together as we talked about in our previous video. And then, like Jackson said, in the trenches, especially when we poured all the money we have into both the offensive and defensive line now after that big Brian O'Neill extension earlier, pretty
Mm-hmm.
recently here. And I can't disagree with those takes. And honestly, as far as what I'm looking forward to is to be a little bit different. I'd say the defense, really. We poured a lot of money into the defense in general this offseason, and I kind of want to see how it all comes together. Kind of want to see if we can return to a form where we're like a top 10 defense again after just a dismal season last year. So I
Yes.
think that this should be a good bounce back campaign for Mike Zimmer and company.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of a mixture of all your guys' opinions there. I'm looking forward to see if the Vikings can finally just put it all together on both sides of the ball, which it might be a lot to ask. But so last year they had a pretty darn good offense, but the defense was horrible. But then in previous years with Kirk Cousins here under Mike Zimmer especially, um, we've had good defenses, but like middle of the pack to like average offenses. So I'm just kind of curious. You got Clint Kubiak who's calling plays for the first time ever in his life. He's very young. It's going to be interesting to see if he knows exactly what he's doing. I don't want it to be so unbalanced this season. I want both sides of the ball to help each other out. I want the defense to set up the offense and vice versa. Offense keep the defense off the field for a while. Because I think if they can do that, they're going to be extremely successful this year. Because I think that's kind of an underrated part of what goes into these games is that if an offense keeps going 3-0, well, the defense, of course, is going to be tired. So it's like, yeah, the offense is struggling, but that in turn also makes the defense struggle. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'd say is just can they get it together on both sides of the ball, and also I'll throw in maybe can Mike Zimmer's game management get any better? It's his 8th season, so I'm kind of doubting it. But his timeout usage, end of quarter, end of half, like 2-minute drill stuff is just so poor. I mean, and then he throws in challenges at bad times sometimes too. It's just like I think he's almost too focused on the defense to really focus on calling the game as a head coach. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, honestly, I would say you're right. You hit the nail on the head. As long as Zimmer's been here, it feels like his clock management and just game management in general has been a little iffy. Feels like he's too focused on defense too often, where he kind of loses sight of the big picture. And I think he kind of has to take a step back sometimes and look at everything, especially this year when I think he's probably got to pay a little bit more attention to this offense when our success as far as where we want to get to, not just the playoffs, but inevitably a Super Bowl, hopefully. And like having the first year play caller and Clint Kubiak, I think he's really got to put some stake into this offensive meeting room, honestly, and just be aware of what's going on and making sure we're staying on track, especially when there's so much riding on this season, and especially his own job security. If the season ends up as a disaster, then he's probably gone. So I
Yeah.
think he's really got to make sure he's making sure everything is right on this team, not just with the defense, but the whole thing.
Yeah. So, I think just overall the coaching in general, Zimmer's clock management and overall game management, I hope we see an improvement, but it's unlikely. But the thing that is new is Clint Kubiak, being the offensive coordinator, and I want to see if if we're a little bit more aggressive, and because last year we would do some questionable things. We would run the ball on second and short when we should probably do play action, over the top to Justin Jefferson, do more of big plays. In the preseason early, I know people have been kind of ripping on Clint for some of the play calling, but hopefully, it's just preseason. Once we get our starters in, he's going to be opening it up more. So that's something to watch.
How about you, Krenzi? What do you think about Zimmer's game management?
Yeah, I mean, I just wish he would just coach, like do more head coaching, not worry so much about the defense. I mean, that's why you have a defensive coordinator in the first place.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to really worry that much about the offense because I mean, Clint Kubiak, yeah, he's a first-year coach, but you got to be able to trust your guys when it comes to that kind of stuff. I just feel like maybe he should, and Liberta kind of already said this, but I feel like he should focus more on like game managing, watching clock, knowing when to call timeouts, knowing when to really throw challenges, all that stuff that a head coach normally does. That all these other head coaches in the league that can bring their team to the playoffs a year, they do a really good job of that, but they let their other coaches coach, and I just don't think Zimmer does a good enough job with that.
I would agree with you there. I think it'd be nice for the head coach to just be a head coach rather than basically a glorified defensive coordinator. I just don't see that changing though. He's talked about maybe handing off play calling duties on defense to his son, which I think would get a lot of people fired up as well. But at the same time, it'd be kind of nice to just let him control the game rather than sit there and have to call plays, not really focusing on what's going on the offensive side of the ball when he's coaching up his defensive guys. So it's like it would be nice for him to just take that step back so he's able to look at the big picture of the game. But I just don't see that happening. What is one player each of you are most excited about going into this season? It could be offense, defense, special teams, possibly. If you're excited,
Greg Joseph, maybe.
Yeah, of course, the kicker. But let's start with Krenzi. Who is the one player you are most excited about for this season?
Yeah, so I'm probably most excited to see Justin Jefferson in his second season. He was a monster last season, so we know what he's capable of, obviously, but I'm looking for him to really take that next step and really become an elite receiver in the league, like a top 5 guy, and that guy that you can just rely on every game to put up just monster numbers for you. So, and honestly, that'll maybe take a little bit of the weight off of Delvin as well. So,
how about you, Jackson?
So I was going to say Justin Jefferson as well. I'm so excited to see him, but I'll pick another player, and that's Patrick Peterson. I'm also excited to see him. I just want to see. I think him in a new system. I know in Arizona, he had a little bit more on his plate. I know he had to guard. He had to cover the best player all the time. He was kind of on the island. Now he's kind of in Zimmer's scheme, so I think that might actually fit him in as he's a little bit older. And I'm just really excited. I think he can. We'll see kind of a vintage Patrick P. This year. Maybe not quite to the level that he has been, but I think we're going to see kind of a rebound season after last year, and I think he's going to really lead that secondary. So I'm excited for him.
Man, I hope you're right about that. All right, Liberta, who are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, this is a pretty tough call because I can get excited about a lot of the players in this team. I like this roster on paper, but if I got to pick one, I'd probably say Daniil Hunter. I feel like he could potentially be scratching on the door of a Defensive Player of the Year campaign with all the hype he's had around him in camp and through the preseason. Obviously, he didn't have any reps, but he didn't need any reps in actual games. So I know he hasn't played in a little while, and I know there's always uncertainty coming off an injury, but I just think he's got all the talent and all the potential in the world to really just make make something happen, just have a monster season and really put himself in that conversation where he has over 20 plus sacks, and you can't ignore his status in this league as a top 5 pass rusher. And I feel like I'm going to buy into the hype that everybody's basically talking about him. And I think there's honestly, I think there's just another level there that I think he's going to get to this year.
Yeah, you stole mine with Danielle Hunter. That was going to be my guy, but I'm going to stick with the defensive line. I'm going to go with Michael Pierce. Everything from what we've seen and heard from training camp is he's just been an absolute beast since he's been here. Sounds like he's just a wrecker in the run game. He just clogs up the middle. Then you obviously have Delvin Tomlinson next to him. Really, the whole defensive line in general, I'm excited for. But I think Michael Pierce, seeing if he's able to rush the passer at all, because if they can get anything pass rushing wise out of him, that's going to be huge. And we still have him for all 3 years of his deal since he opted out last season. So we got him for 3 years in his prime. Seems like he's going to be a really good player, and as long as he stays healthy, I'm really excited to see how he's able to help Danielle Hunter and contribute to stopping the run and pass rushing as well. So before we wrap up quickly, we got a special question here for Krenzy. Who's reffing this weekend, and are they good?
Yeah, so I actually looked this up a couple days ago. They finally released it. And our refs this week will be Adrian Hill's crew. Now, this guy, I'm pretty sure he's a second-year ref. Don't quote me on that. But I know he's fairly new. So I didn't really watch him ref a whole lot of games last year, but I knew who he was. So to be honest, this week I got to see what this guy's got before I can really give an opinion on him. Yeah. So let's just hope he's good and not horrible, so I don't have to come on anytime soon and really rip him apart, I guess.
Yeah, we might have to make that a weekly segment where Krenzy comes on and just rips the refs for the horrible job they did on that Sunday. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard a lot about him, so I would assume a lot of people haven't had no complaints, but you never know. That is true. I mean, hopefully in a game against the Bengals, it's not going to have to come down to who's reffing the game. Like, hopefully we can just take care of business and leave it at that. But I guess you never know with the Vikings. But I guess we'll wrap it up right there. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a like on this video as well, and feel free to give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. And also leave your comments below about who you're most looking forward to seeing this season and what excites you most about this Vikings squad.